Sure.
Hello, listeners. I'm Melody Sinclair.
I'm Red McCano, Senior Executive Vice Senior President of Shadaloo's Department of Treasury. You're listening to How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio, and Happy Tax Day, Melody. People wish each other a Happy Tax Day, right?
They don't. Tax Day isn't really a holiday. It's more of a deadline for people to submit their tax claims. Did someone tell you Tax Day was a holiday?
No, and that's the problem. No one tells me anything. I just see it written on a calendar and assume it's a holiday. Otherwise, why would it be on a calendar, right? Like, you've got Flag Day on there, and that doesn't seem real, but it also sounds dumb enough that it probably is real. Yous in America are weird about your flags. Is Flag Day real, Melody?
Flag Day is real. It's more of an anniversary than something we actively celebrate, though.
So, did you get your taxes done?
I got them done the same day I got my W-2. You're stalling. Why?
I'm just so tired of talking about tariffs, Melody. I feel like it's all I talk about these days.
Well, we host a show about finance and economics, Red, with sports for some reason that no one's ever really been able to explain to me.
Okay, we're just gonna get through this, okay? Yesterday, the American president announced a 20% tariff on all imported Shadaloo goods would go into effect at the end of May. The administration claims that Shadaloo was, quote, founded to screw the U.S., a similar sentiment used to justify proposed tariffs against the European Union. And the thing is, we already know how this will play out. The Shadaloo government has already announced a 21% tariff on all imported American goods in response. Representatives of both nations have scheduled meetings. I suspect by the end of this month, we'll find out that these tariffs are going to get pushed back a month, and then a month later, we'll find ourselves right back here talking about this again. That's how it went with Canada. That's how it went with Mexico.
Hypothetically speaking, what kind of ramifications would there be if tariffs from either side were to go through?
So, American tariffs on Shadaloo goods. You're looking at sugar. Sugar is our biggest export to America. I talk about it all the time. Sticking with food, there's also tea, seafood, rice. Those major food products we export to America would be impacted the most. No one thinks about this one, but electronic office supplies, printers, printer parts, fax machines, inks, those are coming from Shadaloo, along with plastics, copper, tin. And the other way around, petroleum, aluminum, iron, steel, pharmaceuticals. Those are the top 5 imports from America to Shadaloo. To answer your question, Melody, more directly, Shadaloo is the leading exporter of sugar and office machinery in the world. I bring it up every time tariffs are brought up. Corporations aren't just going to eat the additional cost of imports. They're going to pass it on to you, the consumer. Your candy bars, confection sugars, baked goods, soda, those prices are going up.
There goes my morning coffee. Couldn't we just get our sugar from somewhere else, like Brazil or your neighbors in Thailand?
If that were as easy of a solution as it sounds, tariffs wouldn't have the kind of weight they have on trade. This isn't like your local grocery store deciding to buy produce from a different farm. These are billion-dollar corporations needing to change up an entire supply chain. In almost every case, it's just cheaper for corporations to raise prices to offset the cost than break existing contracts and try to literally start the whole process over from step one. If these tariffs were to happen, Shadaloo would be okay. It's what makes these threats from the American government so toothless and reckless. Petroleum, iron, steel, and aluminum, we've been slowly importing less and less of these because of our breakthroughs in psychopower as an energy source. We don't require as much petrol for fuel. We're using psychopower to meet the energy requirements to process iron, steel, and aluminum ourselves. If these tariffs came a decade ago, it would have hurt us a lot more, but now it's not as bad as it could be.
And that'll take us into today's global exchange rates if you'll walk us through that, Red.
Alrighty, sounds good. Your mid-April global exchange rates. We're going to kick things off with Great Britain, the British pound, 0.200, the American dollar, USD, 0.154, the Canadian dollar, 0.107, the euro, 0.168, The Japanese yen, .001. The Egyptian pound, .003. The Mexican peso, .008. And the Albanian lek, .002.
Trade war between the US and Canada is starting to affect the Bison dollar. Those numbers in particular are lower than usual.
Dropping faster than a health bar caught in an Akuma vortex, Melody. Like you said, the trade war between America and Canada is having a negative effect on both exchange rates. We'll be keeping a close eye on them both in the coming weeks. Stick around, comrades. There's still plenty of How Much in Bison dollars coming your way.
When we return, we'll have Samson Escapades reporting the results of Iteration 2025. But for now, here's Jazzy NYC 99 from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Welcome back, comrades. You're listening to How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio. That was Jazzy NYC 99 from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. You ever been to New York City, Melody?
I was there for my cousin's bat mitzvah, but I don't remember it well. I was only 8 at the time, and I remember how scratchy the dress my mom made me was, more than the city itself. You?
Been there once. Didn't like it. It was like Boston, except I didn't know where anything was. You know they've got a Dave & Buster's in Times Square now? They got one of those weird Injustice arcade machines.
The one with the cards?
Yeah, it's technically a fighting game you can play in an arcade, but it feels like it mostly plays itself.
I can just imagine what the competitive scene must look like. Speaking of, we're throwing to Samson Escapades with the results of Iteration 2025.
Thanks, Melody. It's been several days since Iteration 2025 occurred, and we've all had a chance to digest it properly. The event was perhaps best known for being marred by organizational problems and lackluster performances by top players. You wouldn't know that just from looking at the bracket, however. Your top 8 consisted of regular mainstays like Max Sedum, Ultra Violins, Didmark, The Red Tornado, 80FGC, Give 'em the Zip, and Goose. I predicted JCT 9090 had the potential to shake up the bracket, and I'd say reaching top 8 in his debut tournament did just that. Max Adam knocked last year's This Is Destiny runner-up, Ultra Violins, from the bracket in straight sets. Didmark did the same to the Red Tornado. 80FGC defeated Give 'em the Zip 2-1. Goose ended JCT 9090's run 2-1. Semifinals started with Max Adam versus Didmark in a match described as plotting despite both players' penchant for speed and relentlessness. Nearly every match ended in time limit decisions. Didmark advanced 2-1 over Max Adam. Goose defeated Give 'em the Zip in a mirror match. It was 9 rounds of 2 Anong mains throwing rocks at each other from across the screen. Thankfully, Didmark was able to pick up the pace in the grand finals to bring the tournament to a merciful end, besting Goose 3-1. Didmark is your Iteration 2025 tournament champion and has secured a favorable position for this is Destiny 2025.
From what I saw in the days that followed the weekend, it wasn't just fans that took to social media to talk about the state of the tournament, but the players as well.
I'd argue the best and most scathing example of this was Goose, posting to Blue Sky that her favorite match of iteration was Minimum Adam versus Mid Mark because it, quote, gave me some time to pop out of the arcade, get some fresh air, go home, run a cycle of laundry, and scroll Instagram before remembering I still had to compete in grand finals, and I still returned in time for the second round of Adam and Mark's third set, end quote. The Red Tornado replied his favorite match was Did Mark versus Goose in grand finals. Goose then posted screenshots of her blocking the Red Tornado and captioned it, "This is why I'm ranked higher than him. I know how to block." The Red Tornado subposted several hours later saying, "I didn't pay $5 to block."
Bound to be a lot of drama going into Lobby 2025 this summer.
Indeed. Lobby 2025 is currently scheduled for June 14th at Shoryu Wave. More details on the event will be announced later. I'm Samson Escapades, Shadaloo City Shadaloo. Back to you, Melody and Red.
Make sure you stick around, listeners. There's still more How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio coming your way. We have another music break now. This is Cosmic Vegetation from Bloody Roar 2. Welcome back. You're listening to How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio. That was Cosmic Vegetation from Bloody Roar 2.
So, Melody, I want to let you in on a little secret.
I already told you to call Lazarus about that rash red.
No. What? No! I hate talking about any dollar amount that exceeds $1 billion.
Ah, that one.
Because me, as Senior Executive Vice Senior President of Shadaloo's Department of Treasury, I am looking at money all the time. I'm looking at a lot of money all of the time. I look at a number on a document and I can envision that. I know what $1 billion looks like on paper. I know things that cost $1 billion. I have signed off on projects that cost $1 billion. A second psycho drive, billions. Mutagenic research, billions. Operation Chains, regrettably, billions. The hardest part of my job is trying to describe $1 billion to people when just $10,000 would be considered a significant, life-changing amount of money. Like Melody, how much would your life improve on the spot, right now, with 10 grand USD?
I'd be able to pay down all my student loans and most of my medical debts, so I wouldn't exactly be free and clear, but I might consider visiting the urgent care next time I dislocate a shoulder.
See? When $10,000 can make that much a difference, what's $1 million? A big house, helping your family and neighbors. 10 million, luxury, set for life. 100 times that? Unfathomable. What do you even do with $1 billion?
Well, if you're a whole country, you spend it on your military budget, right?
Hundreds of times over in some cases. We're looking at 15 nations from all over the globe, suck it flat earthers, with the largest military spending in 2024, and how much that is in Bison dollars. Now, I want to get ahead of this. Shadaloo is not part of the list.
Couldn't make the grade, huh?
It surprises people, I know, because that's the first thing you hear about Shadaloo with all your Western propaganda. Military dictatorship. A third of their population are military personnel. It's closer to 2/5, by the way. They must spend billions on their military. We do, but people also never take into account the size of our country. Shadaloo is not a large country. We're only about the size of Puerto Rico, I guess, would be the closest comparison I can make that our comrades listening can understand. We can really only spend so much, but we make it count. If this list went to top 16, we would have been right there, just behind Poland. But you're looking at me like I should get into it, so I'm going to get into it. Again, these are the military budgets of the top 15 spenders last year, 2024, and I'm going to tell them to you in Bison dollars. First up, we have the United States of America's total spending on their military in 2024 in Bison dollars. That's $149,072 million in Bison dollars. Next up, the Republic of China, $36,190 million in Bison dollars. Russia, $22,484 million. Germany, $13,244 million. The United Kingdom, $12,474 million. India, $11,396 million. Saudi Arabia, $11,088 million. France, $9,856 million. Japan, $8,162 million. South Korea, $6,776 million. Australia, $5,544 million. Italy's entire military spending in 2024, that's $5,390 million. Israel, $5,236 million. The Ukraine, $4,312 million, and Poland has the same figures as the Ukraine, $4,312 million. I started this segment by mentioning the difficulty in relating the concept of $1 billion to our audience. Now multiply that by 1,000 and you've basically got how much money the American government spent on the military in 1 year. Last year, 2024. Nearly $1 trillion USD. It takes combining the spending of the next 12 nations on this list to equal what America spent. It astounds me how America can simultaneously be the richest nation in the world and a nation where so many suffer as the infrastructure of basically everything crumbles around them. It's a shame, really, that you don't just drone strike starvation, illiteracy, and poverty, eh?
Don't give them any ideas. They have the budget to try. When we return, we'll take your questions, requests, and dedications. You can reach us on social media at HMI Bison Dollars and use the hashtag BisonDollarsQRT.
Get them in before this song is through. We're playing Happiness from Capcom vs. SNK 2. Welcome back, comrades. You're listening to How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio. That was Happiness from Capcom vs. SNK 2, the perfect word to describe the way I feel about taking your questions, requests, and dedications. We were doing questions now, right, Melody?
Absolutely. Do you want to remind everyone how they can send those in?
The best way to send in any questions, requests, or dedications is by reaching out to us on social media at HMI Bison Dollars with the hashtag BisonDollarsQRD. I assume you have one of those for us.
I do. This one's from Leon Trotsky Ball on Blue Sky. Hey Red, aren't you scared being a foreigner in America, especially now that Shadaloo is being specifically called out by the president and in the media?
So, easy question to answer with a lot of complicated feelings. Yes, I am. It's a scary time to be a citizen of Shadaloo in America. It's a scary time to be a government employee abroad. To put it bluntly, I'm not sure I can trust the American government and its agencies to honor my status as a foreign diplomat. And the Shadaloo government shares my concerns, not only for me, but also for all government members and citizens abroad in America. We have it, feels like, daily briefings on what to do if everything goes to hell and we need to evacuate the country immediately. We have protocol to follow if we're approached by U.S. agencies looking to detain us. But here's the thing. I want to turn that question around on you, because me, I have a way out. I'm not from here. I'm here for work. This is my job. This is my duty as an agent for the Shadaloo government. I can go back home tomorrow. I don't have to be here. But you live here. I assume if you're listening to this broadcast, there's a chance the majority of you are American. You can't leave. You have nowhere else to go. Aren't you scared? Melody, aren't you scared?
The ghost of my bubby has been shouting in my ear to leave since 2016. Yes, Red, I'm scared. Caller, you're on FGC Radio. What's your name and where are you from?
Hi, I'm Machi from Opossum City.
What can we play for you, comrade?
The song's called Watch Out from Virtua Fighter 4, and I'd like to dedicate it to the manager of the Modulatis on St. Michael Road.
Ominous. This is Watch Out from Virtua Fighter 4. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back, comrades. You're listening to How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio. That was Watch Out from Virtua Fighter 4. Unfortunately, you've caught us just in time to say goodbye, but hey, don't worry about it too much. Coming up next, Soul Appraisals with Shang Tsung. FGC Radio's newest sponsor will turn your soul
We're not
into
even
cash.
licensed to
Your
deal in
soul,
souls.
our
This
cash,
broadcast
cash
is
for
not
soul
sponsored by
with
Shang
Tsung.
Red! For How Much in Bison Dollars and FGC Radio, I'm Melody Sinclair.
And I'm Red McCano, Senior Executive Vice Senior President of Shadaloo's Department of Treasury. Gloria Ad Pax by Sonica. Enjoy your day. How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio is a How Much in Bison Dollars production brought to you by FGC Radio. You can follow FGC Radio on Blue Sky at FGC Radio. How Much in Bison Dollars on FGC Radio features music by Terrible Brosif. You can follow Brosif on both Twitter and TikTok at Terrible Brosif. The role of Red McCano was played by me, How Much in Bison Dollars. You can find me on most social media sites at HMI Bison Dollars, or on the player selection screen, press D, D, C, D, B. Melody Sinclair was portrayed by Solstice Hannan. Solstice can be found on most relevant and some irrelevant social media sites at Darker Solstice. Samson Escapades was portrayed by Professor Tom of the Shujin Academy VGM Club podcast. You can follow the professor on Blue Sky at Shujin Academy and on Instagram at Shujin Academy VGM Club. You can listen to the Shujin Academy VGM Club podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Machi was portrayed by Foxy Machiko. You can find Foxy on Twitch at Foxy Machiko or anywhere else under the same @. Her collection of links can be found on animetidu.com. Special thanks to FGC Radio for broadcasting this show, and thank you, comrades, for listening to it. How Much in Bison Dollars airs the first and third Tuesday of every month. Reruns of broadcasts can be found on platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever else you might enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thank you, and take care.